Good afternoon. My name's Christian Kumar from MedTech Makers Lab, and apologies for the recording of this message and presentation rather than being live and being able to take Q&A. Unfortunately, I'm unable to attend live, but I didn't want to let the team down, and I am going to make myself available sort of offline in over the next few days. But again, today's subject matter is how to create the perfect pitch. At the moment, there is huge contraction in the investment market. Technology seems to be everywhere, and the world is shrinking. And what that's creating is a difficult time when you've got a saturated marketplace with limited capital for investors to find the right deals and for investees to present themselves to the right types of investors. So what I'm going to do is just share some slides and see if we can sort of answer some of your questions a little bit later on, but there we go. Again, I'm Christian Kumar from MedTech Makers Lab, but also outside of MedTech Makers Lab, we are a investment management business. We've invested in multiple sectors from medical technology, nutraceuticals, all the way to energy and construction. But as I said a bit earlier, we've got global technology being developed all over the world. In the old days, Silicon Valley seemed to lead the charge for technology. Today, yield profiles in Budapest are equally as good as they are in Boston. The other thing we have is a contracted and shrinking market. It's much easier for smaller countries to play on a larger global field, meaning that competition is strife and we have to be better at presenting in a overly saturated marketplace. And if you combine that with geopolitical issues, inflation and contraction in VC capital, the landscape is not impossible, but you have to be really at the top of your game. This acronym NABC was initially developed by the Stanford Research Institute back in the 80s, and this is when I was a young graduate intake at Merrill Lynch. And it was the whole idea of how do you present a concept? And the concept is very straightforward. We call it problem statement, but ultimately it's need. Because often we see lots and lots of technologies whereby we've got solutions waiting for problems to happen. But if we lead with the need, you're getting the attention of the listener right away at the outset. It's also known as the impact statement, problem statement, and it's there to set the scene for the rest of the presentation. Now, secondarily to that is your approach. So this is where you get to shine, the technology gets to shine, and the technology then needs to show a direct application to solving the problem. And this is all before you get to understanding the benefits for the patient outcome, the project, the environment, the people, the stakeholder, and the investors. And finally, competition is my favorite of this four-letter acronym, because competition is where it's not so much somebody else that does what you do, but how do people solve this problem today? Often apathy is the biggest competitor to new technology. So with that said, when you're laying out a presentation, it's following a story. People need to be attracted into you and the story that you tell. And starting with the problem sets the expectation that, wow, here's a problem. Now then there's a solution waiting to happen. And once you've got past the very first part of the presentation, which is the need, the approach, the benefit, and competition, you've got to really think about then who you're presenting to and what they want to hear. And today we're talking about investment and investment challenges. So what does the investor want to hear? And I can tell you this as an investor. I want to know if there's a pathway for someone to buy that product. Why do they want to buy it? Is this the right team to deliver? Often we've seen technical and scientific founders try to run a business. Now, sometimes it works, not always. So have you presented who will be running the sales, the operations, the delivery? And how do you protect this? It's not just a need for intellectual property, but is there an intellectual property strategy? And finally, the thing that most people forget is, what do you need? What is the expectation from this presentation and the outcome from the meeting? So many pitching competitions, the founders go into straightforward technological presentations. They overwhelm the audience with science, and all of a sudden they forget in that 3 or 5 minutes that they're there to raise money. So the ask is never there. And the one thing that you must do is lay the ask out. If it's £500,000 or euros or dollars, what do you need it for? How long will it last? Why this is important is because ultimately I want to know, as that $500,000 investor, is how will I be diluted at the next round? And if this money is going to last you 12 months, at what point is your focus moved from developing the company or looking for further funding? And finally, what do I get back? Now, your first pitch, the initial presentation, is a discussion document. It's there to open up a further detailed dialogue. Whilst we've titled this The Perfect Pitch, the perfect result from this pitch is to be able to get into a round of due diligence and detailed meetings that come along next. So these are 4 simple acronyms that I want you to get a hold of: the need, the approach, the benefit. Then layer into, what does the investor get? It's 500,000 euros. It will take me post-concept into clinical validation, or it will get me to the market. For the 500,000, I'm offering 20% equity. And if the cash flow moves according to plan, we may not need to raise further capital, or we may need to raise scale funding. That doesn't have to be a quantum that you have to discuss today, but it's something that should be included to give the mindset of the investor exactly when they need to come back in again. So today is just a very short introduction. I am a retired investment banker. I have a portfolio currently of 17 investments across multiple technologies. And if you'd like to discuss your business idea, there's a link here that Joe will be happy to send across. And the link will allow you over the next 2 or 3 weeks to be able to book a 45-minute call where we can actually go through your presentation. I can give you some constructive feedback, and hopefully that will be helpful. Again, I'd like to apologize for not being there today, and I look forward to hearing from some of you in the near future. Take care. Thank you.